Buen día, Ed. Gracias por estar en el canal. Bienvenido. Bueno, estamos muy interesados en su carrera. Hemos entrevistado algunos editores excelentes como Tensilano, como otros que hemos conocido durante el camino. Y no queremos saber sobre su trayectoria, pero sí que coméntanos un poco sobre, bueno, que por qué aceptaste, porque la verdad me comentaron que, bueno, no eres muy accesible pues a entrevistas.
I will sum it out shortly because I say Jhon said too much. So let's start it clearly. Why do you accept this interview? Because Jhon said that you never accept this kind of interview. So why do you accept it? Why are you here, man?
Well, I think there's a few things. Is that one of the things that happens is that let's just say I'm thrilled that I was able to work on some films that are recognizable to people outside of me and a few of my friends. What happens also, that's a very important part of my life and my career. But the most satisfying part of my career is that I can lay claim that I'm not going to say that I gave people careers, but that I was instrumental in helping them find their way into their career. There's like 5 or 6 editors in this town that are working that started with me. And that's important. And it's not just because, we all want to get something. We all have desires. And so we want things to come our way. And, what I've discovered, one of the great things about getting older is that if you want to get anything out of life, you're not going to get anything more than what you put into it. And so, but I have to put something into it without the expectation of getting something back. Because if it's like, this does not mean that. I'm never going to take a job because this job is going to lead to something else. I take a job for whatever it's worth. And believe me, I've taken look, I'm lucky enough. I've got an extensive IMDb. And so look, there are some turkeys on there that just make me cringe if I were to go perusing and just kind of pass through some of those titles and go, that was one of the worst experiences of my life. But also there were films that I took on or projects, I've done everything at this point in my life except porn. Okay. That I haven't done. So I don't know. If it doesn't happen, somehow my life will still be complete. But I have done pretty much everything. And you have to be able to take something on with seeing where it's going to go. The great thing about editing is that, there's an A to B and that B has an endpoint. And what happens for a lot of people in their work is that, every day is a grind. It's, you're repeating the same process and it's this over and over and over again. Make no mistake, a lot of elements of editing are over and over and over again. But what happens is that the increments all build into something. And so the minutia doesn't ruin the project. The minutia is the building blocks of what takes something somewhere. And over time, I don't know, I'd have to start thinking about it. By the way, I haven't prepared this. And so if I'm stumbling around, so be it. And I think we're all the better for it because it would sound rehearsed. But, is that you have to, in editing, I just had a small thing that I walked away from for the variety of reasons that these things happen. It didn't end happily. And quite honestly, I told somebody off. But what had happened was the process of taking it along was just something that didn't work for the people that I was showing work to. And I kept saying, well, no, that's okay. Today's today's output is tomorrow's build that took something somewhere. Everything is always in process. Editing is, it's a monument to process, and you can't, as long as there's process happening, then something is happening. Editing is not talk. When I started out in television commercials. And so there was this in Chicago. And so what had happened is that there was, the company was part of, they had offices in Los Angeles, Chicago, and London. Okay. So one of their London-based directors was a former editor. And he used to do this thing, and he was like one of these old timers. He cut on a moviola. And he would go, and he would show something, and then suddenly there would just be white that was just go by. It was, you would slap down what was just some white, and he goes, and what's going to happen is this. And that doesn't happen anymore. You can't fake anything in editing. Whatever, you can say, this is going to lead into a particular area. This is going to take you somewhere. This is what's going to happen. But you have to show something. You have to give you can't even show increments of an idea. I've had to take on elements of visual effects that not terribly long ago where I'd go, golly, I just don't want to have to do that. But we have to do all of it. I'm happy enough to say I work on an Avid. I still work on an Avid for the variety of reasons that I do. It's not because I'm some old timer. I will happily say that when I find something better than the Avid, I'm done with it. I'll work on something else. For the variety of reasons that are unique to me and how I work, I still think it's the best system out there. All right, enough of that. I'm not out to debate editing systems. But I was one of the first 100 users of an Avid. And that goes back years and years. And so when I came out here, nobody was doing feature films on an Avid. I came out in 92. When I got here, exactly one feature, an adaptation of a Neil Simon play, was the only thing that was edited on an Avid. I was number 3 on that. It was a Lost Orson Welles film. How's that for a start of a feature career, by the way? But what was happening is that there were just these scores of editors. That's like, and Avid was the leading premier, pretty much only game out there. And everyone, it can't do this and it can't do that, or you have to do titles, or you have to do this. And it's like, you're missing the point. There's the 500 things it can do that you can't do on a moviola, on a chem, on a Steenbeck. And that's why you want to embrace it. And that's ongoing. For the variety of reasons that are understandable and not entirely clear to me, is that I embrace AI. And if AI is going to help an edit, I'm going to bring it into the process in ways that will help the process. Maybe not the end game, because there are still certain kinds of, we'll call it ethical considerations regarding AI, but you have to embrace it. And it's a very real technology. About 3 months from now, if this plays back as I'm talking about AI, this is going to sound like, it was written in Sanskrit. It will be such old news. But that's the elasticity of the craft of editing, is that we always have to take on something. We always have to, we may not agree with it, but we have to minimally embrace it to see what the possibilities are. I've taught college for a number of years, and I have a very simple definition of editing. It's realization through option. And you have to, whatever gives you options takes you to a realization, takes you to something else. It's that process that takes you from here to there. And that's the essence, the joy of what editing is. after we finish up today, I'm working. I've got a couple of things that I'm working on, and but among them is I'm doing a documentary, and subject matter doesn't matter here. But I had done a documentary since I did the Wells film back in '93. That's a long stretch, and truth be told, you gave me a list of films, and I have multiple screens here. And on this other screen is a list of them all on the IMDb in case I need to find a quick reference, because I just haven't seen them for a while. This is a very interesting phenomenon about streaming. What's happening now because of streaming, I don't inadvertently run across my work anymore, because you consciously make a decision for what it is you're going to watch. You have large menus, and so you click. So I used to channel surf through the barrage of cable channels out there, and I go, oh, I haven't seen that in years, because that list you gave me, the only thing I just took a second look at was Jeepers 2, just because I kind of wanted to see that. But I found from a number of my friends, when they revisit, is that they overly revisit their work. And I don't want to live in that past. And in fact, half of the experience of watching something I worked on is it hits sense memories of what occurred while I was editing, happily and not so happily on projects. And so, I can enjoy the film for what it is, but it's impossible for any of us that have worked on something to divorce ourselves from what happened while it was in process, what was going on, the mix of personalities. Tomorrow I'm having a breakfast meeting because of, a small horror film, I'm ensconced in horror, is that there's been a clash of personalities, and happily I got contacted, and so myself, the director, and a potential producer are going to sit down to see if we can make peace with the people that are going to write the check, because they got cold feet or they became annoyed with whomever, however, or whatever. And so let's sit down and exactly what are our goals here. And if the goal is to make the movie, well, then we make the movie. Shut up, swallow your pride, and make a movie. And a lot of that, I have, one of the things that, I do have a dog. And is that one of the things that I have backed directors to the detriment of my career. I've been fired off movies because I've gone to bat for directors. I can also tell you that, it's great fun to make sport of producers because of all the mischief that occurs that we all know. I can also say that a solid 30 to 40% of the time, the failing of a film is the director, and that the vision got lost in the hubris of the power of the position. And sometimes, I have to remind a director that we're here not because of you, but because you're working on something that's a reflection of a vision that you had. So let's remember that you got a vision here, and that, you have to set aside a number of things, a lot of things, a rash of things that can be painful, hurtful, and whatevering. But I don't need a specific marketing group to sit in a screening and I can tell you what's working in a movie. I don't need a test group to tell me, because the audience is speaking the language of viewing a film. And and it's like, if I'm sitting there and it's going incredibly long, where the audience is just, please make me interested in your project again. They're begging us. because you can literally feel it in the room. And it's like, that has to be responded to. We have to address that. Not because I'm there to kiss the ass of the audience, but we have to understand that somebody put down some money or paid a cable bill or however that goes to watch your product. And we owe them their time. And if we're not giving them their time, what are we about? And, that's, I can, that there are times where it is my job to tell the people that have written the checks that it's okay if the audience is restive here. We're going to get them back. It's like the train, the train's leaving the station here, right? And, you're back up on the mountain and you're either going to watch it, go out of sight into whatever it's going to go to, or you're just going to watch the train wreck. And I've sat on that mountaintop watching the train wreck and go, there's no reason for that to happen. All movies are fixable. There isn't a movie ever made that isn't fixable. It doesn't mean it's going to be good, but it can be fixed. And that happens in this room and thousands of rooms like it. And that's the job of an editor. I'm there to keep I'm the rhythm section of this orchestra. And, I owe the audience the rhythm of whatever this film is going to be about, where it's going to go. How can I help it achieve those goals? And there are so many tools available on my little Mac keyboard here that allow that to happen. And so how can I help that happen? That's my job. It's not my job to make shit of the film just because it's not going where it could, but I can make something at the peak of whatever it is that I have because of the wealth of experiences I have. I can at least make something tolerable. But I think I've just talked endlessly here. Come on, you've got questions. I'm sorry. I'm not caffeinated yet. I had to.
He's good.
I had to make sure I didn't overly do my morning caffeine, so I just talked endlessly because I will. I'm sorry, I'm a machine. We're trapped in these rooms. Once we're cut loose, my God, there's a world out there. So what's going on? Come on, guys, talk to me.
Jhon, otra pregunta.
Tengo tres que son las que voy a decir. A mí me encanta muchísimo es El Camino del Guerrero, Peaceful Warrior, que es una de mis favoritas, que me cambió la perspectiva. De verdad, de ver las películas con esta temática. El tema de Jeepers Creepers, sí, lo que habló sobre el documental es lo de Orson Welles, lo que nunca se hizo. Y no, solo decirle cómo define él su trabajo en una palabra, esas tres. Yo sé que todo lo va a resumir.
Ok, agrego otra. La edición de los Biotes Slayer. Ok, we sum up all the projects in one question, and a bit final question. Is more that, not more a question, but what we love. Jhon loved your work in Peaceful Warrior. I love your work in the Slayer videos. I'm a metalhead. And also the Orson Welles documentary. So, but the question is, try to define your career, your work in one word, or many words.
Oh, privilege. It's one of the things that is difficult to explain. I told you that the great joy is helping people along. And I've taken on jobs for free. I've delivered envelopes. I mean, I've started at the bottom of. I started in a public television station in St. Louis and worked 13 months and 5 days, but who was counting, for free, just to get a foot into a door. And I didn't always act. I probably acted more with privilege than somebody that was given the privilege of being there. But I never wanted to lose that sense that I'm I get to live in a world that is very unique, that allows, when all of the elements align, to achieve something that is so superb to experience that it gives us something to lean into, that it gives us an emotional reaction. And, it's easy as somebody that has a large background in horror. It doesn't take much to test the temperature of an audience in a horror film. But that's the same for whatever a film is, any kind of film. You always know the temperature of the project. And so what happens is, we're all privileged to be able to put something into that. All right. But let's just say I can walk on set, and by day 3, the kid that's operating the walkie-talkie that's directing traffic can already direct the picture better than the guy that's the director. That's just a given. Everybody, because for the variety of reasons, we don't go into this business to be a grip. God bless the people that do and stay grips, and, long may you live, and I hope you prosper, and I'm sorry you're as underpaid as you are. But we all go into this with some kind of aspiration. I'm privileged to be an editor. I love editing. I did some directing, and it was the only thing I can say about my time as a director is that I couldn't wait for it to end because I could get some sleep. And that is the eternal memory I'm going to carry with the project. All I wanted for it was to end. Just go away. I want a night's sleep, please. I'm not made to be a director. I do wake up thinking about editing, although I'm co-writing a script right now with a novelist who is adapting her novel, and this is her first time as a screenwriter. So I can throw in and help in those areas. But my day starts, I think about editing, and I'm going to edit, and I'm going to do something that has a component of editing to it. As we all know, right now, LA, things are just deadly slow out here. And so I had to take on a straight job as well. So, my day is full because, hey, my bills aren't going away. The projects aren't as plentiful as they could or should be. But, that's the come and go of the audience, or the come and go of the career. There's always going to be this kind of seismology to what happens when we work. And I've learned over time that you don't say no to an offer. And there are a couple of things, and in fact, I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but one of them on there to me is just porn. It is a low point of my career, and just working on it was sad. And it was kind of one of those things. But I got the privilege of being offered something. And so I owed that job a job. And so at worst, I gave it everything I could as a job. And did I give it everything I could as an editor? I certainly tried. I don't know. Sometimes I'm unsure. There are certain fallback positions I think any of us have. And it doesn't matter what your art form or craft is. There are certain things that are repetitive that I'll do because the moment requires certain repetitive functions, but also because it's a fallback position. I've done it before and I can get through it quickly. So there are elements on a couple of those jobs where that was present. I'm not part of I'm I'll do my best not to bash anyone. And for a very simple reason. I'm part of a very large group of people. And if I bash something, that I could be stepping on the toes of not the person that I may be kind of lining up here, but something that someone else was involved with, and they became the inadvertent victim. And I'm not there to victimize my fellow crew people or above the line talent. And that's not fair to them. And I don't want to have to, as I say, I don't want to have to judge. There was one time in a fit of anger with somebody that I'm sorry to say had it coming, because he was being cruel, not just to me, but to other people. And I just finally, in desperation, I said, you couldn't direct traffic at a shopping mall. So why don't you just knock it off? And that's about as low as I think I've ever gone. And I don't think I need to ever go that low again. In the end, I'm not a fashion consultant to somebody's emperor's clothes. But what I am is I'm there to collaborate, and the elements of collaboration don't happen in anger. And the elements of collaboration don't happen in the sort of, kind of deeply disturbing areas where people kind of, just go behind other people's backs. We can do without that in the business. Sadly, it occurs, but it doesn't need my help.
Y por último, yo solo diré que también me encantó la película de Frozen. No Frozen la otra, no. Frozen la de terror, que es la que me encantó muchísimo. Así que solo quería felicitarlo y que, envíe saludos a Colombia y que de su website, que para mí es un honor que haya estado acá para hablar de lo que él quiera.
Okay, before time runs up, Jhon said that he also loves your work on Frozen, that the camera is yours, so you can send a big hi to Colombia, to wherever you want, tell your website, and yes, Jhon is right. It was an honor to have you here. So, the camera is yours.
To talk about Frozen?
Did you want it? I don't know how many much time.
You know what? I have to say, Frozen was a great experience, and there are some things that happened on Frozen. I'll be very specific, because there were some very fun things that happened on Frozen. First of all, is that the premise is, what you have, 3 people trapped on this mountain. So what you have is this enclosed space in the midst of just plenty, vistas of, and so spatially just dealing with the pressure of the environment on this tight space, but keeping people within that space interested and interesting. And that was a premise that could have just imploded on its own possibility or lack of possibilities, I'll just say. And there was something there that I was so proud of, is that one of the things you get to learn all these things on production. So among the things that I got to learn on that film was that dealing with animals, dealing with wolves. And so how do you deal with these animals? And in point of fact, they learned on set. I wasn't on set for this, but they learned that at any given moment, wolves are unpredictable. And so they had to use a series of dogs, puppets, wolves, and something else, how do we create that? And so one of the things that happened that I was very proud of was that on the ski lift, Kevin Zegers, the guy who plays Dan Walker, falls off and lands and then is confronted by a wolf. And it's like, how can we convey that and make that happen? And I kept saying, well, I think we're going through this a little faster than we can. And we can pull this out and stretch this out, not drag it out, but stretch this out. Because I think we can get really playful with this moment. And let me play with this moment to see how playful we can get. And so I remember, Adam Green happened to leave that day. And by the way, we had this great working relationship. What had happened was we would get to work 3 to 4 in the morning because he got his best times writing. He was writing something else at the time. And so he said his best writing periods happened during this period from 3 in the morning until 7, 8 in the morning, before the phone started ringing and all this stuff started happening. And I said, can you come in? And then I can always just bounce back in. And I said, yeah, sure, of course. So we had finished up for the day. It was, 3, it was like 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and he was kind of done and he needed to go home. And I said, good, let me play with this tonight. And when you get back in the morning, let's see where it is. So from 5 in the afternoon till around midnight, 1 or 2 in the morning, I kept working at it. What are the possibilities with this? I tried to get Frozen. That was one of the movies that I tried to get. And it's, I don't know, whatever. The rental wasn't, I couldn't even find the rental. And no, I don't keep my films. Again, I don't need to revisit. But anyway, I kind of wanted to revisit that scene. It's probably on YouTube. I should try that out for size. But what happened was I got to play with that. Not because I wanted to make the audience hurt, but that was a moment that was key to the storytelling because he had fallen, he was trapped, and the only thing in front of him was death. And how much longer can I prolong what's left to his life before the inevitable happens? And it wasn't like, how can I torture the audience? How can I prolong a character? And that was fun because it was character. And Kevin Zegers gave us just so much to work with, given that, by the way, it was really cold. I mean, I think that was one of those sub-zero days. Oh, here's a fast thing. Criticisms leveled against the movie was, well, it couldn't have been that bad because you couldn't see people's breath. Here's what I learned, is that after your body adapts to the outside weather, the cloud of breath goes away because your body has adapted to the outside atmosphere, the outside temperature. Okay, I digress. So what happened was that, I had plenty of time to play with that, and the only thing I was working on in a clock was, can I get it done before Adam shows up? And I'd still be awake enough to be able to put in another full day with him. And that is something that I'll always remember. I will always, always have a great deal of affection for that. And the other thing that I got to learn from that film was timing. There was great banter because it was just the chemistry of 3 people on an enclosed space. And how can we keep that alive? How does that space stay alive? How do we keep the audience from going away on something that, hey, where else, once they're on that, once they're up the mountain and they go, where else are they going to go? No place. And so that was such a great editorial and rhythmic and entertain challenge. And to my way of, I've known Adam for a number of years now, the writing is so superlative on that he gave his actors so much to work with, and they had so much fun when they weren't shivering to no end, that all I could do as an editor was to give credence to the quality of what they gave as actors. That was great fun to work on. That was one of the most fun experiences I ever had as an editor.
No,
I love your books in the background. What do we got back there? I every now and then I would try to sneak a look at another title back there. What are some of those?
John, ¿qué tienes atrás?
Bueno,
¿Qué quieres
aquí
saber?
tengo el libro de unos que lo que llegó del planeta, el gran libro de perros, el de Dante, allá la película, este es la de Luis School, el que me firmó Blake Fowler, el de Halloween 3, el de Ends.
Yes, you heard Blake Fowler, man. Yes, the actor, and some boots. Yeah.
No, bueno.
How did you end up in the business? So what are your aspirations? Now, come on, the red light is over. We can just talk as people talking on Zoom. Talk to me. Where are you going with yourselves and your careers?
Jhon created this project in the university and became a full-time project. And Jhon called me because he knew me. He knows some parts of my career. I'm a journalist. And I ended up being his translator, and here we are. We are journalists because the career of cinema is not on our town, but it's okay.
By the way, I'm sure, whether or not you're aware or not, in the Jeepers Creepers movies, our executive producer was Francis Ford Coppola. Coppola had a very interesting thing to say about film. He said, right now, the business is going to be changed because of a 10-year-old girl in Cincinnati, Ohio. And the thing that I love about that is that, cinema, it's easy to look at somebody like Wells or, look, Oppenheimer is just, that's just a cinematic achievement. And you look at Nolan's work and it's easy to say that. But in truth, Anora is the sum total of a film that started back on an iPhone in South Florida. And that's where the joy and the guts of film are. In some ways having to do with choice. And I have turned down some big projects because the privilege is in the discovery of people that are going to discover something about themselves as well as the project.